Offense, great drive.
Go, go!
Stop.
Welcome into practice today, presented by SiriusXM. I'm Ethan Greenberg here in the BetMGM studio, riding solo. But let's bring in EA, who's on the balcony. He thinks he's in Miami already. It's 60 degrees, a little windy. What's going on outside?
Well, you just said it. Unseasonably warm temperatures for the Jets today as they hit the practice field. It's not going to be quite as warm as it will be for everybody Sunday in South Florida. Temps about 82 degrees expected down there in Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, and the humidity could be a factor as always. Light rain expected in the forecast, Greens. Humidity in the 70% range.
This is what like a South Florida Christmas must feel like, right? Like 60 degrees on a bad day, 80 degrees on a good day. I mean, I don't know if I like that. You grew up in Buffalo. What do you think about this? No snow on the ground. We're talking about warm weather, and it's December 16th.
Give me snow for Christmas. I'm fine with that. But 59 degrees right now is going to be the high today for the Jets as they get warmed up out there on the practice field. I believe we're watching Tyler Kroft. He's one of the Jets who is scheduled to return this weekend against the Miami Dolphins. So a lot of reason for the Jets to be feeling quite good under the warm sun.
All right, well, let's move on to today's headline. Kind of what you just talked about, EA. Last week we were talking about bad injury news with Elijah Moore being placed on injured reserve, but now the Jets are getting some players back this week. We're taking a look at Tyler Kroft. Also added Michael Carter, the running back, Michael Carter, the defensive back, Trayvon Wesco, Bryce Huff, all expected back in the lineup, EA. And let's focus on the offensive side of the ball. With Michael Carter, it seemed like he was well on his way to a career day before he sustained an ankle injury against the Dolphins.
Yeah, great analysis right there because the Jets did lose that game 24-17 to the Dolphins in Week 11. But I believe Carter had 9 carries for 60-plus yards when he went out. He missed the last 3 games. He's been so successful this year that he remains the Jets' leading rusher despite missing the last 3 games. We've seen him flourish with the yards after contact. When he went out of the lineup, how about Tevin Coleman? He was averaging 4.6 yards a carry for 2 games. He didn't play last week. In fact, the Jets' leading rusher, of course, last week was LaMichael Pirine, a 4th-round pick out of Florida in 2000. So I'm very interested to see how those reps are divided in the offensive backfield. But Robert Saleh was asked point blank, hey, is Michael Carter playing this week? Yeah, he's playing.
Right, and then you mentioned Tevin Coleman. That was one guy I did not say. Also expected back in the lineup after missing last week's game with a concussion. So just one more thing on this, EA, with the Jets. Feels like the Jets and Dolphins, their injuries or players who are expected to be in the lineup, not expected to be in the lineup, trending in 2 different directions. We just talked about the guys who are expected to play for Robert Saleh. There he is right there on your screen. But for the Dolphins, came out a couple minutes before we got on the air, Adam Schefter tweeted that Jalen Waddle, the rookie wide receiver who leads the Dolphins in catches and yards, tied for first with 4 touchdowns, seems like he's going to be one of many players on the reserve COVID-19 list by the time this game takes place Sunday.
So the Jets are dealing with a couple cases themselves right now, and Justin Hardy, special teams ace, and wide receiver Jeff Smith. But you just mentioned the Dolphins. You're talking about Jalen Waddle. He's got 86 receptions so far this season, by far and away Tua Tagovailoa's #1 target. That would be a huge miss for the Dolphins to not have his services. They got some backfield problems. Myles Gaskin is not the only person dealing with COVID. A couple other guys as well. So we're going to have to monitor the running back situation. And don't forget about the other side of the ball, too. How about Javon Holland, that very good safety who is a key part of the blitz package for the Dolphins because he can cover and he also can come and bring pressure. He's dealing with the virus as well.
And we're going to talk about this Miami Dolphins defense that you kind of detailed there with their blitz packages. But the Jets are on the road this week. Then they have back-to-back home games. In 2022 New York Jets season tickets are on sale now. You can place a $100 refundable deposit to secure the best seats and pricing for every game next season at MetLife Stadium. Visit nyjets.com/season tickets to learn more. All right, it's time for our Jet in Focus here. Let's go right into the heart of the defense with linebacker C.J. Mosley, who had a career high, that's right, career high 17 tackles against the Saints at 29 years old, EA.
Hey, 29's not old, Greens.
It's old in football years. It's like dog years, right?
No, it's old on the Jets roster maybe because they lead the National Football League in terms of snaps by rookies, and especially on the defensive side of the ball, they are so young. But C.J. Mosley, the heartbeat, the mainstay in the middle. You mentioned his 17 tackle performance against the Saints. He was awesome all over the field, going sideline to sideline, coming downhill, playing with the violent style. But this is not a surprise because so far this year, C.J. Mosley, in 7 games, he's had 10-plus tackles. In fact, he leads the green and white with 118 tackles on the year, and he's provided so much inside the locker room, away from the field, but through his approach each and every day. He's a consummate professional.
Right. I feel like C.J. Mosley was the guy when he signed here. You think about his tenure with the Ravens and what the Ravens stand for. Obviously, the Jets are trying to build a foundation here. And Jeff Ulbrich was one of the guys that said this Monday, he feels like C.J. Mosley could and will be a big part of the reason why the culture changes here. Just how much do you think Mosley means to this locker room, let alone the way that he plays on Sundays?
He means everything. You mentioned it before. This is a former 4-time Pro Bowler with the Baltimore Ravens. Oh, by the way, I think we're going to talk about the Pro Bowl later. There's a little tease for you. But his first year in the National Football League, Mosley played in a playoff game, and the Ravens took a couple steps back in years 2 and 3 before he went to the postseason in year 4. But the Jets believe that when ultimately they do flip this, and they are convinced that they are going to flip this, is that C.J. Mosley is going to be one of the big reasons why.
Actually, EA and Leger Douzable caught up with Mosley on this week's official Jets podcast.
And at the end of the day, I consider myself still an old school style linebacker with my mentality. I'm all about, the contact, the power. And when I'm asked to, be in coverage, I play my part in that role. But, linebackers are built on, game wrecking plays, and also being able to change the game, within the game. You look at stats, and that sometimes can be misconstrued. You see, a lot of tackles, but you don't see the interceptions or the sacks and those things. But that being a middle linebacker, so much more. Just the technical part of the game, the mental part of the game, knowing what the offense is giving you, knowing what they're trying to do to you throughout the game, and how they're trying to change up and show different coverages and different pre-snap looks. And I enjoy that part of the game. The physical part, that will come and go. My body will know when it's done. But as far as the mental part, I feel like I'm one of the smartest linebackers in this league, and I pride myself on trying to study the opponent and trying to tell myself like who can I outstudy on the other side of the ball to try to get in the best position I can be in.
All right, what's not to love about C.J. Mosley in all seriousness? But let's take a look at yesterday's injury report here. Unfortunately, another lengthy one just like last week. You take a look here, George Fant, Sheldon Rankins are on here. They did not play yesterday. Both expected to play Sunday. But let's focus on a pair of the young guys. We mentioned Michael Carter and Tyler Kroft earlier. Well, how about EA, Bryce Huff and Michael Carter II? Let's start with Huff. How much of an impact do you think the return of Huff could mean to this defensive line?
Well, he hasn't played for 6 games, right? And Huff is a guy who provides an element of speed and explosion that the Jets are missing. I think he changed his entire dynamic up front. Unfortunately, of course, Carl Lawson went down in training camp against the Green Bay Packers. It would have been fascinating to watch this defensive line if they were healthy all year with all their pieces. But Huff is a guy who makes everybody better because he just brings it from the edge, and it also gives you more flexibility with guys in sub packages because Huff can bring it off the outside. You can put a guy like John Franklin Myers who could be a terror on the inside. We know what Quinnen Williams can do. And think about Huff in terms of this. His get off this year so far, according to Next Gen Stats, less than 0.8 seconds. That ranks among the top 10 pass rushers in the National Football League. And then you mentioned Michael Carter II. I was looking forward to his second matchup with Jalen Waddle, but hey, looks like Waddle might be out of the lineup. But the Jets love what Carter has brought to the table this year. Think about the value Joe Douglas got in the second round. The fifth round, getting him on day 3 of the draft. That was something else.
And that's back-to-back years, fifth-round cornerbacks. We mentioned Bryce Hall. We've talked about him in prior shows. Another guy that's really come on strong. Taking a look at Michael Carter right now. Nice to see Isaiah Dunn back on the field. He was on the injury report with a non-COVID illness. EA, just real quick, I know that you were looking forward to the Carter-Waddle rematch here. How about let's go to the outside with Bryce Hall and somebody the Jets did not see when these teams met Week 11 at MetLife Stadium. Devontae Parker, a much different receiver than Jalen Waddle, but what kind of challenges do you think he presents?
Well, I think you wrote about it earlier this week that Parker in his last couple meetings with the Jets, he's been successful. He just gives Tua Tagovailoa another target on the outside, a veteran presence, a bigger guy. But you mentioned Bryce Hall. If you really look at Bryce Hall over the course of this year and what the second-year cornerback has done, he has proven himself to be somebody who's going to be a fixture in the defensive backfield, not for just these final 4 games, but you got to look ahead and say, hey, we got some pieces in Michael Carter II, the aforementioned Michael Carter II, and Bryce Hall. The Jets, they don't carry cornerbacks with receivers, though. So, yeah, that would be a natural matchup, but it's going to be interesting to see the roster dynamics with the Dolphins without Waddle in the lineup.
One thing on Bryce Hall, over the past 2 weeks, he's allowed a total of 15 yards to opposing receivers. And Devontae Parker, I mentioned his height earlier, 6'3", 209 pounds. And the Dolphins, one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. They're winners of 5 in a row. Their defense has just been on a tear. It's allowing an average of 11 points per game in that span. So let's head inside the film room for a closer look with another Baldy's Breakdown presented by Sharp.
Thanks a lot, Ethan. I really want to go in the film room and take a look at this Dolphins defense. They're doing a lot right now, and they're doing it really well. The Dolphins have a conundrum. When you get to third downs, they have a blitz zero package. Well, they'll put everybody up at the line of scrimmage. Sometimes they bring them all, sometimes they drop them, but ultimately they want to get a free hitter to the quarterback and affect the throw. Now, they don't always bring them. Like, for example, here, they only rush 3. They're going to drop 8, but they're going to get the quarterback to get the ball out of his hands faster than he wants to. And they can't get enough yards on third down. Now, here's an example here. They're going to bring one more than you can block. All right, Giants keep in 7 to try to protect Mike Glennon. But Eric Rowe comes free. When you watch it, like watch Eric Rowe, number 21. They pick up just about everybody, but they get a free hitter. And he affects the throw, going right for the quarterback's arm. All right, and that ball just flutters. But ultimately, you have to be prepared for a lot of twist stunts. Like number 15, Jalen Phillips is a rookie. He's their best rusher. But they do a lot with him. They'll put him inside, they'll put him outside. But this is just a 4-man rush, and they're going to run a twist stunt inside, and he's going to take 2 Giants with him. Just drive, and it frees up Adam Butler to get to the quarterback. You got to be prepared for the twist stunts, the overloads, and the free hitters, especially when you get to third down.
Baldy, as always, although EA, I got a question for Baldy here. What's up with the aqua polo and the somewhat orange-looking bandana? Not the right combination for this week.
Was he sending a message? Maybe Baldy taped that from down in Florida.
That's possible. That's possible. So, let's actually talk about when these teams met in Week 11. Joe Flacco was the one that started under center. He played really well. He had a quarterback rating of over 100. Now we're taking a look at Zach Wilson, who will get his first taste of this complex Dolphins defense that Baldy broke down. So what's the most important factor here for the number 2 pick heading into Sunday, EA?
Hey, Greens, the Jets should have won that game in Week 11. They had so many opportunities. You think about the 2 missed field goals. There was a strip sack down there of Joe Flacco inside the 10-yard line, a couple late penalties, and they still lost that game by 7 points. What Flacco did very well, and that's why he's here, is that his recognition is off the charts. He's seen everything from defenses in the National Football League. That's what the Jets want to see from Wilson this week, because Miami pressures more than anybody from a percentage perspective in the league, and they're going to challenge you. Now, I know a lot of people talk about what they do in the back with the man coverage, but they're going to, from time to time, they'll play some zones as well. But you have to have great post-snap recognition, and that's what Flacco did against the Dolphins. You think about that game, 291 yards passing, but the Jets' best player that day, Ethan, he's not going to be on the field Sunday, unfortunately. That was Elijah Moore, 8 catches, 141 yards against the Dolphins. But we talked about it at the beginning here. Good news on the injury front. Zach Wilson's getting a lot of reinforcements back. They'll just have to wait a couple weeks for Moore to get back in the lineup.
That's right, and this is Practice Today presented by Sirius XM EA. I know we talk about football. We're also like de facto fashion aficionados when it comes to football because we talk about it frequently. I'm taking a look at Zach Wilson as you were talking about your answer. No headband. Are we thinking that's the way that this is trending, that Zach Wilson has since ditched the headband? Or what do we think about this in general?
I'm down with it. I'm fighting glare out here, so don't come out to my camera right now as we watch Wilson run out of here. I'm taking a look at the pro. Oh, you'll probably come back to me right now.
Yeah, that's right.
I like it. Listen, I don't mind the headband, but from time to time you got to switch it up. Like for me, I'm a big-time hat guy, but I'm not wearing hats all the time, but maybe I'll change it up with a winter hat and a baseball cap. You know, I just think you got to change your look from time to time.
All right, well, I guess we'll see what happens on Sunday, but for now, the headband remains in the locker room. And it's time for our Stats Amazing segment here on Practice Today. This is a pretty interesting number here. You talked about the youth of this team earlier. Well, 28 of the 37 players, that's 75.7%, who have taken snaps on defense, entered the season with fewer than 10 career starts. EA, what do you think about that?
It just speaks to experience, and it speaks to the process. And the Jets are doing this differently than they've ever done it before. And Robert Saleh has repeated that throughout the year, that we are going to have some bumps along the way, but we are going to play young people. And the Jets have stuck to that philosophy throughout the year, and we're starting to see guys come on. The other thing is, I don't think we should just think about it in terms of what you're seeing from the starters, because the guys out there, you have to figure out who your depth players are going to be down the line as well. So some guys are getting reps with the ones, right? They might be backups next year, but you have to build a foundation, and the Jets really, truly believe the only way to evaluate young players, and it's not just on the practice field, you got to get them game reps, and they've stuck to that through 13 games.
All right, well, for more numbers, let's hear from NFL Network analytics expert Cynthia Freeland.
Ethan, EA, what's up? Happy week 15. I have 3 numbers for you ahead of this week's matchup with the Dolphins. The first number, 6. As in, Bryce Hall had an awesome outing yet again against the Saints last week, allowing only 6 total yards in coverage. That brings his 2-week total of receiving yards allowed to just 15. That's ridiculous. The second number is 2. As in, Folorenzo Fatukasi was another bright spot on the defense. He had 2 pressures and a tackle for loss on pass rushes, along with adding 5 run stop assists and 1 full run stop. The last number, 17. As in, CJ Mosley led the way with 17 total tackles. PFF credits him with 6 defensive stops and only 1 missed tackle.
All right, great stuff. Fantastic stuff from Cynthia as always. Take a look at this. EA today, Thursday, December 16th, the last day for Pro Bowl voting. Make sure to vote for our guys here on defense, on offense, on special teams. So with that, EA, here's our cover 2 question. Which 2 Jets are most deserving to be named to the Pro Bowl?
Well, I think a few of those guys on that list are deserving to get to the Pro Bowl. And remember, fans, get out there and vote. Let's go back to Mosley, 4-time Pro Bowler. I think he should be a 5-time Pro Bowler. I think he's been one of the finer inside linebackers in the National Football League this season. And we talk about what he provides in terms of being that leader, being the heartbeat of this team. He's bought in. He never goes out there and is you're seeing C.J. Mosley, every time he's on the field, he's making an impact. And what is striking about him right now is that he's taking to his game to a new level here in December. And 118 tackles, plays physical, violent, downhill. I think he looks faster side to side than ever. He's had an outstanding season. And then let's move up a level. How about Quinnen Williams? 6 sacks this year. The Jets favor that defensive line rotation, but from an interior perspective, he's as good as a pass rusher as anybody after Aaron Donald.
All right, I think those are two fantastic answers. I completely echo the sentiments that you said about C.J. Mosley. And also, we'll see what happens when it's time to name the Curtis Martin Team MVP. Not saying he's going to win it. I'm just saying he's definitely in the running there for the Jets. And then how about special teams? We often talk about offensive defense. We got to give Braxton Berrios some love here. He's among the league leaders in kick return average and punt return average. And I don't know if you agree with this, EA. He was always sure-handed at punt return. This is the first year that he's kick return for the Jets. Feels like he's developed into more of a weapon on special teams than just the sure-handed guy. You agree with that?
I agree with that. He's a guy who is always making something happen with the ball in his hands. Hopefully he can get one down the stretch. Almost had one a couple weeks ago against the Philadelphia Eagles. But you can become a real tone setter in the special teams game from a returner perspective. And he's been bringing it both from the kick return spot and the punt return spot. And, in fact, last week, he was targeted 10 times offensively. I know we're talking about his special teams exploits, but he's also giving you some juice on the offensive side of the ball as well.
I totally agree with that. Feels like he's really starting to heat up here at the end of the year. And we're taking a look at Quinnen Williams, but somebody that I feel bad for, and I'll preface this by saying that, we're taking a look at Foley in the foreground here, number 94, Lorenzo Fatukasi. This is a guy who's like one of the league's best run stuffers, but probably won't get a Pro Bowl nomination because how do you judge that if you're the casual fan? Don't you think Foley needs a little more love in general here?
I don't know. I think inside the building, he's definitely getting the love that he deserves. And I think when those teams like the Dolphins are preparing for him this week, 94 is going to be out there giving you fits inside the middle. And a lot of times he's going to require double teams. And for a Dolphins team, when we look ahead to this weekend, they've struggled mightily to run the football. And then we talk about their backs being out this week. I'm going to be very interested to see their game plan with them being depleted in the offensive backfield, then having Waddle out. But you're right about Lorenzo Fatukasi. Listen, he's a handful in the middle, and he remains one of the top run pluggers in the NFL. Get back to the rush defense overall, Greens. Not bad last week. The numbers say 200 yards, but when you look at those first 40-plus carries, 3.6 average or 3.7 average. So the Jets have something to build upon as they move into Miami.
That they do. And one piece here before we wrap up practice today, presented by SiriusXM, with a bit of news. In case you missed it, yesterday the Jets were essentially awarded business rights, marketing rights overseas. And, of course, the Jets played the Falcons at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium earlier this season. Jets in UK, Nick Mangold's the ambassador for the green and white. That's not a shock. You got to make sure to follow the Twitter account at NYJets in UK. Seems like this is a budding partnership, not only from the NFL and overseas and all the different countries, but particularly the Jets. So, EA, what do you think about this moving forward here? We're going to be going across the pond maybe in the offseason, shoot some content, or what?
I agree with that. I think we got to get back to London maybe here this offseason, maybe do some live programming from Tottenham or any of those spots there in London. Ride the eye, right? Huh?
Yeah, but maybe we'll go live from a pub, from the Jets pub. What do you think about that?
I like that. It's a good idea. And I can't wait till the Jets have a home game over there. The first 2 games over there in London against the Miami Dolphins back in 2015, and, of course, earlier this year against Atlanta were considered quote-unquote road games. But now London is definitely home. Next time the Jets play over there, it should be a home game.
All right, that's all the time we have on this show of Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. We'll see you in South Florida if you're there. If not, you'll be rocking and rolling with EA here in the studio for Pregame Central, presented by Uber Eats. Make sure to make it a great day, and we'll see you Sunday.